Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today. This is Adrienne Montgomery with ERP VAR. I'm so pleased to be joined today by CertaPro, Starship, and VIP Integrated Payments. We're going to be talking about Sage 100 Cloud, integrated e-commerce shipping and payments. And I'm so pleased to be joined by CertaPro, Starship, VIP Integrated Payments. We're joined today by Simon Quinn, Director of Sales over at CertaPro Solutions, Nick Young, Senior ERP Consultant at CertaPro, and Matt St. John's at G Technologies. He'll be talking about the Starship Integrated Shipping for Sage 100 Cloud. And Maya Green, welcome, Maya. You're a new presenter today with VIP Integrated Payments. Maya is going to be talking about how to look out for payments, contracts and mistakes to avoid when you're reviewing payment processors and who you go with and select. So welcome aboard, Maya. This is the first webinar you've attended with us and presented. So we appreciate all of you presenters today with us. And just a little bit about the companies. CertaPro is based in Los Angeles, and they have a very strong integrated Magento e-commerce e-link with Sage 100 Cloud. It's a two-way connector that handles all data connection points for business partner portals and other B2B, B2C e-commerce needs. They're a Magento technology partner, and they also have years of experience developing Sage 100, 300, 500, and X3. They have developers, consultants, CPAs on staff, and software programmers. So they can handle all your needs when it comes to Sage 100 Cloud, Sage 300, and 500, and X3. Starship is a leading integrated shipping solution for Sage 100 Cloud. They connect dozens of parcel and LTL carriers into Sage 100 Cloud. And FedEx, USPS, UPS, OnTrack, all of those popular carriers, plus LTL carriers like Holland, UPS, YRC, Old Dominion, Pitt, Ohio, leading carriers they have long relationships with and a very strong integration with Sage 100, 300, 500, X3. They also have long-standing integration with Dynamics GP and a newer integration as of 2016 with Acumatica, QuickBooks, SAP Business One, Epicor, and Syspro. They also have integrations with Amazon, eBay, Magento, Shopify, and WooCommerce. And VIP Integrated Payments is a leading provider of integrated payment technology for North American merchants. They differentiate themselves by their strategic partnership and multiple platform models. So they don't just offer one integrated solution. They review an assortment of solutions to help you understand which is the best one given your unique situation. And they are based in the US, and they work with channel partners and end users. They have 10 years of experience integrating and developing relationships for Sage 100 and the Sage product lines. And then a little bit about the workflow. We're going to be talking about how CertaPro takes the Magento e-commerce store order and brings all of that information into Sage 100, where Starship will talk about how they pick up the details of that order. They calculate the dimensional weight, where the customer is located, and decide who is the best carrier to address that shipment and fulfill that shipment. All the tracking numbers and everything go back into Sage 100, so customer service and sales can help the customer with information regarding where their shipment is. And then VIP Integrated Payments will help you have the best integrated payment provider given the customer's needs and given all the cost savings that can go into selecting the right integrated payment solution. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Simon to talk about CertaPro's Magento eLink. Thank you so much, Simon.
All right. So again, my name is Simon Quinn. I'm the Director of Sales for CertaPro. Also, today I have with me Nick Young, who is one of our senior ERP consultants, as well as the eLink product manager. And eLink is the software that we're going to demo today. I'm going to give you a quick overview and talk about the concept of eLink and talk about Magento. And then I'm going to hand it over to Nick, and he's going to get into the fun stuff, as I say, and we'll actually do some transactions in both Sage and in Magento and show you how the flow goes back and forth between Magento and Sage. So often successful businesses online, successful online businesses are going to reach a point where they're spending more time and money managing data in both their web store and in Sage. Managing product information, pricing, stock levels, customer information, and web orders across two platforms can be problematic and becomes a real pain point. So with an e-commerce platform seamlessly integrated into your Sage ERP using CertaPro's eLink software with Magento, all this key information is now going to be synchronized between both systems. So this reduces time spent dealing with data entry in two systems. It maximizes your profits and ultimately, improves the customer satisfaction and the experience. So CertaPro has created a product called eLink. And so while this demo today is going to be for Sage 100 specifically, it also works with 300, 500, and with X3. So it's a syncing technology that is a powerful tool which synchronizes data both ways. So your Sage product and customer information can now be updated to your web store or your web portal 24/7. And online orders can now be created in Sage and are ready to be processed within minutes. So this is all completed without running manual batch jobs or any other manual export-import procedure. It's completely automatic. So the data securely flows between your Sage ERP and the web store in encrypted files, which makes your company backend completely anonymous and secure. And because the web store is hosted outside of your Sage environment, the customer never has direct access to Sage. So this means having an online store means that you're open for business all of the time. And now you can have an integrated e-commerce solution with your Sage ERP. So CertaPro's eLink software integrated with Sage and Magento now makes it more approachable and affordable for your business to have an online presence for both business to business, B2B, and business to consumer, or B2C. So I want to take a quick step back and talk about, what is Magento and why Magento. So Magento is an e-commerce platform, and there's both there's two editions out there. There's a community edition and there's a commerce edition, which is a paid version. And there's the differences in those would be, we would require a separate discussion on that, but you can feel free to reach out to us to discuss that in more detail. The world's biggest brands love Magento for its flexibility because of the way consumers and their buying patterns are changing, and they're changing by the minute. So only Magento, which is both open source and agile, can help your customers adapt and thrive. There's a global ecosystem of over 150,000 developers, and there's also network solution partners like CertaPro. So Magento boosts online sales while maximizing gross margins. Magento businesses sell more at a lower total cost of operation than merchants on any other competitive e-commerce platform. So Magento gives you the flexibility to customize and extend your platform to create unique, differentiated, and branded experiences. The Magento Marketplace is the world's largest and most versatile, offering numerous customized and tested extensions. And these are extensions that can extend a store's features any way you want. So jumping back to eLink, so how does eLink actually work? So eLink is actually two parts. So one is an API that runs on top of the Sage server that allows us to talk to Sage using the Sage business objects. So with the eLink API, if you go in and create an order, it's actually creating the order as if you're tabbing through all the fields within Sage. So it's not putting data in a database, if you will. So what that means is any business logic that's built into Sage, we're going to be following all the same business logic with the eLink API. So we built out the software for both sides of Magento and Sage from the ground up, and doing so gives us the flexibility to create a plethora of different modifications and customizations for yourself or for your customers. So we create and author everything in-house, and we only build these applications for Sage. We don't work with any other ERP. So we are Sage and Magento centric, so it's all we do. But I do want to take eLink one step further before I hand this over to Nick. CertaPro can also provide you with a convenient mobile commerce option. So we can build and develop a native mobile app for you. And these apps are going to be available in the Google Play Store and in the Apple Store. And we know a large percentage of web traffic is now coming from mobile devices, so we can accommodate all of that. This allows your customers to be able to handle mobile orders, make payments using the mobile app. And this is going to continue to increase, which is why we're able to accommodate that. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Nick, our eLink product manager, and we'll jump into Magento and Sage and show you a few transactions.
What we're looking at is our Luma web store. So all we've done here is we've taken a fresh copy of Magento and we've installed our eLink extensions in Magento, and then we've installed our Sage site enhancements in the Sage system as well. So I'm going to go through the whole process of creating a transaction. We'll place the order, we'll look at the sales order in Sage, and then we'll invoice it so you can see how that information comes back. Like Simon said, this particular demo is geared towards 100, but this also works for X3, 500, and 300, and the experience for those is going to be almost exactly the same as what you're looking at here too. So we'll just go to one of the product categories. And the first thing we see is the products on the page. We are bringing products from Sage into the web. So you create a product in Sage, you check the box for it to be internet enabled. We'll import that product and create it in Magento automatically. We bring over, product name, inventory levels, so you can control in stock and out of stock on the web if you want to, based on your actual Sage inventory. And then we bring over all of the custom pricing as well. So if you have custom price levels set up, price codes, contract pricing for your items, quantity breaks, all of that that's set up in Sage will automatically come over to the web, and the logged in user is going to see their price on the web exactly as you have it set up in Sage. So there's no duplicate entry for pricing, there's no importing or exporting pricing information. It's just you update your prices in Sage and those automatically get updated on the web. We'll also bring over the image from Sage if you're using the images in Sage. Most people are not when it comes to e-commerce, but we can bring over the Sage image as well. So we'll just add a couple of the tank tops on the screen to the cart. And then we'll head over to the checkout. And when we get to the checkout, you'll notice that the customer address information is already at the top. I'm logged in as a customer. We do bring over all of the customer information from Sage. So if you have existing relationships with your customer, they create an online account and link their existing customer account. All of their shipping and billing address information comes from Sage, so they don't have to go retype all their information. It will just automatically be here for them during their checkout. We'll go ahead and check out with no shipping. We'll head over to payments. So when it gets to payments, we have credit card options. So the credit card is going to work. You have the option to capture at the time of checkout, but most people want a pre-authorization because they don't know when they're going to ship the merchandise. So we do a pre-authorization at checkout. We'll bring the transaction token in with the sales order into Sage. So your post-authorization or capture happens actually during the invoicing process, just like any other credit card order that you might enter directly in Sage. We also have our Bill Me option that we add to the solution. Bill Me is controlled by the customer's payment terms in Sage. So you set up which payment terms are credit card only and which ones are actually like net terms. And depending on the payment terms the customer has in Sage, this Bill Me option will be available or not available. So you can actually have your B2C and B2B sites as one website and manage using the actual payment terms in Sage for whether it's a customer that's going to be credit card only or not. This can also be controlled by the credit hold in Sage, so you can make it so the Bill Me disappears if you put a customer on credit hold as well. I'm going to go ahead and check out with the credit card just so you can see how that integration works with the credit card transactions. So this, again, we'll do a pre-authorization here, and then we'll bring that transaction token into Sage. We're only transferring tokens back and forth, so the actual transaction is going to happen directly with the processor, and then we'll take that token and we'll bring it over with the order into Sage. So this remains all PCI compliant because you don't have to worry about storing or transferring credit card information. So we'll go ahead and place this order. And we are using what we call live syncing. So this order is going to get placed. We're going to get a web order number. Sometimes, we change this to say confirmation number. So if I go look at my sales orders in my account page, so this would be like the account portal for the customer. You can see that order is up here in pending orders. The web order number is the Magento order number that gets created when the order is placed. Your Sage may not be available. Your internet connection at your office may not be up. So we're not going directly to Sage to place this order because we want to make sure the website stays up 100% of the time. So this order will be queued. And then as soon as the Sage becomes available again, this order will automatically be submitted to Sage. So if I go ahead and refresh the page, you can see that that order is moved from pending orders and now it's down here in accepted orders. So we have the confirmation number, the web order number, and now we have the actual Sage sales order number. So what's happened here is this order has been exported to Sage, and then we've imported the actual Sage order information back into the web. So when we're looking at the order details here, this information is coming directly from Sage as well. So if we go and update pricing or quantities in Sage, that would be reflected here on the customer's account when they're looking at their sales order. One thing I want to point out is we bring all of the transaction history from Sage into the web. So when customers looking at their account, this order here doesn't have a web order number. This is an order placed by customer service, call-in order, however this got ordered. However this order got into Sage, when the customer is looking at their account online, they have a complete view of their actual order history. So it doesn't matter whether the transaction originates from the web or not, we're bringing all of the transaction history into the account. So we'll go ahead and go into Sage and we'll look at that sales order. And in Sage, we actually bring that web order number. So the customer calls in and all they have is their confirmation email, which the order wasn't put into Sage yet, so it won't have the actual order number on it. Your customer service can look up that order by the web order number as well. And here you can see we have the notification that we brought in that credit card pre-authorization. And as Simon had discussed earlier, we're using the Sage business objects when we populate this order. So we load the customer, all of the customer defaults get loaded into the form. From there, we start overriding stuff based on the actual web order. Here, the customer chose one of their already existing addresses. So we have the ship to code and all of the address information that you saw online. And then here's those two tank tops that we checked out with. So if we go over to the payments tab, you can see we have all the credit card information. And we have the authorization information and transaction. So again, this is just pre-authorized and your actual capture will happen at the time of invoicing. So this is just like any other credit card order you might enter directly into Sage. So we're gonna go ahead and manually invoice this. If you're using any sort of shipping solution like Starship, who's here, you'll probably be using shipping data entry. Shipping data entry is going to put the tracking information in the exact same place. So we'll just manually invoice it so I can show you the tracking information going back to the web. But you do get out of the box full integration with shipping solutions like Starship. So we'll put in a couple tracking numbers here. And just hit OK. And then we'll just go through and we'll ship this complete. So we have some options about whether you want to show just invoice history or whether you want to show pending invoices as well. This invoice is shipped now, but it's not yet posted. We do have it set up so that this invoice will go back to the web and the customer will be able to see this transaction information. So they'll get information as soon as the order is shipped. So while that syncs in the background, I'll show you a couple of other features that we have, and then we'll come back to look at the tracking information for that. So for your B2C, it's perfect. We have a store. They can go shop, browse categories, look at products. But for your B2B customers, they may be repeat customers. They may know the products that they're going to order. They may want to enter an order more like a PO. So we have our quick order entry form that's integrated with Sage. So from here, they can type a SKU or they can quickly search for products by SKU or description. They can select the products that they want to add to their order and add them. And then they can update their quantities and submit this directly to the checkout. So we do bring in the availability here. You can show in stock, out of stock. You can show actual availability for your B2B customers if you want to show the actual number. And then again, this is integrated with all the Sage pricing. So I have my price here. This is my actual calculated price based on all the pricing set up in Sage. And if I had quantity breaks, if I moused over, I would see those different quantities and they would be updated as I change the quantities here. When I hit add to cart and checkout, this is going to add all the items to the cart and go directly to the checkout. So it's a really quick way for them to enter more like a PO without having to go through a shopping experience. So it really takes care of the B2B part of the order entry. we'll go back to the sales orders. We do have sales orders and invoices screens that we add to Magento. So depending on how your customer wants to view the transaction, they have multiple ways to view and search for transactions. So if we go back to that sales order screen, you can see now we have that invoice attached to it. And if we look at the sales order details at the bottom, we have all the invoices and tracking information. So if this had shipped in multiple shipments, we would see multiple invoices here. We would see all of the tracking numbers that were related to this one sales order. If we go to the invoices screen, it's the inverse. So we have this one invoice or this one shipment. We have the link back to the sales order, so we can quickly get back to the sales order and see what other items might have been on there. But if we view the invoice detail here, this is the actual shipped items for this particular shipment. And in the bottom, we have all of our tracking information. And if we had put comments in there, those would come over as well. So now we have an invoice. The other thing you want customers to be able to do is make payments so we can get paid on those open invoices that weren't credit card on during the checkout. So we have our payments extension that we add to Magento. Again, we bring all of the transaction history into the account. So we have a few checks that were sent in. Customer goes to their payments in their portal. They can see all their checks they sent in, what invoices they paid with those checks. But then they also have the ability to make a payment online. So we can go to make a payment. If your processor supports ACH, then you have the ability to also accept payments via ACH. So we have ACH, which the fields just disappeared. We have ACH where we have the routing number and account number. And then we also have all of the credit cards. So this is going to use the saved credit cards during checkout. So if I saved a credit card during checkout, that will appear here for me to use for payments later. And then also if I needed to add a new payment method directly here, I could do that as well and save it. We'll go ahead and use that same credit card we used during the checkout, our test credit card, and we'll add from our open invoices. If there were multiple invoices in here, which I should have set up earlier, we could select multiple invoices and pay them in the same payment. We can also allow the customer, if you want to make short payments. So say I'm only paying $1,000 on this particular invoice, I can do so and add it to my register. So once I click place a payment, this works very similar to the sales orders, but a little bit different. We do not do a pre-authorization on payments made on open invoices. This will actually do the charge on the card. So we've done the capture now, and this just needs to be exported to Sage. And unlike the sales orders, this is not going to move from pending payments down to payment history until after you go and apply that, post that payment inside of Sage. This will come in as a cash receipt entry, and it will be applied to the invoices in the exact way that the customer had selected during that register. So you don't have to worry about, if the customer makes a $2,000 payment, you don't have to worry about trying to figure out which invoices they're trying to pay. They selected the invoices and the amounts they wanted to pay on those, and the cash receipt will already have those applications already set up for you. So let me go ahead and we'll show you that payment quickly. We do have integration with RMA as well. I'm not going to go through the whole RMA process, but you can allow your customers to come and request an RMA online if you're using returns authorization inside of Sage. They can come in here, they can create an RMA, they can choose from their previously purchased products. Say you only allow returns for 90 days, you can filter this so that it only shows 90 days worth of purchases. They can select their products, add it to the grid. It's going to pull in quantities and everything from the invoice. They can update with the amount that they're actually going to return. Your return reasons are coming from Sage. So you can filter these on the web as well. So say you don't want the word defective showing up on your website. You can say, I only want these two to show up on the web for customers to be able to select. And then you can also filter your actions so that only specific actions show up as well. And then we go back to cash receipts entry. Here you can see we have that cash receipt from the web. And if I go look at the actual deposit for this, here we made that $1,000 payment. And if we go to Alliance, you can see, as I was discussing, this automatically applied in the way that the customer selected online. So we have the invoice for $1,900. They made a $1,000 payment. When we get done, this invoice is still going to have an open $900 balance. This is smart enough. It's not going to let me go make another payment on this for the same amount, even though it's not posted. It'll only allow me to make a $900 payment. So we have some other modules that I'm not going to go through right now, but I'll just explain what they are. briefly explain what they are. So we have our My Products module, which allows for like customer-specific products or proprietary products, where you may have products in Sage that you want on the website only for a single customer or a group of customers. It has a setup in Sage where you assign products to customers, and then on the web, it will only be visible to those customers. And then we have a multi-customer or salesperson module where you can assign multiple customers to a single login on the web. So when the customer logs in, they can select which customer they want to be logged in as, and then they have all of the history and payments and can place orders on behalf of that individual customer. So we have many other features. If you're interested, please contact me or Simon. For now, I'm going to pass it to Simon to wrap up, but I appreciate everybody's taking the time to.
Lastly, I'm just going to take a quick 30 seconds and wrap up here. We know that from our experience that no two websites or web portals are the same. Every site has a unique look and feel. So CertaPro is not only a Gold Sage development partner, but we're also a Magento technology partner, and we have Magento developers in-house. So if you need an end-to-end e-commerce solution or a business partner portal, we can manage the entire process for you from end to end. If you just need the E-Link software piece to connect Sage to your existing sites, we can work with yourself or your Sage business partner or your web development team to provide recommendations and solutions to get that accomplished. So with that, we'll pass this on to Matt and we'll talk about Starship. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Nick. And thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Again, my name is Matt St. John from V Technologies, and today we'll do a quick brief overview of Starship and the integration to Sage 100C. Again, just do a quick overview. Most certainly, if anyone would like to schedule a more in-depth one-on-one demo discovery call so I can go over your needs or requirements, I'm more than happy to do that. So on my screen now is the Starship program. So first off, one of the nice things as Starship that you're going to see is, as a shipper, I don't even need access to Sage. Starship is a constant live connection to Sage. And from this screen here, as you see, we can pull in by sales order numbers, customer number, or if we're having to create the invoices first, we could pull by the invoice number. But again, live connection. So as in this case, I'll use by sales order number. As we're adding sales order numbers or the front office is adding sales order numbers, Starship's automatically picking those up. Now with the source information up top here, I could actually have my pick sheet or whatever I'm shipping against. In this case here, I can have that sales order number barcoded, and I can even just use a wedge type plug and play barcode scanner and scan in the sales order number. I could also do it as a manual process. I can manual type in the sales order number, or even down here, I can sort by any of these columns. We can apply filters. Maybe I want to narrow my filter look and what's returned. So I can apply filters, and as a manual process, simply scroll, find my sales order, and then bring it in. We also fully support the ability to group related orders. So I have options here. I could select the group related checkbox, or even if I wanted to, I could maybe scan in, or my number locks was on here, type in the sales order that I want to ship. So I can do this, and I have it turned on where Starship's going to tell my shipper, oh, hey, I see you're trying to ship sales order number 222, but I see all these other sales orders that are going to the same ship to. So I could simply consolidate all the orders into one shipment. Okay, so we fully support that. In this case, I'll just grab this one sales order. And here what Starship is doing is just, again, live connection to Sage, and it's bringing in all the sales order header information as well as the line item detail information. Simple data map of fields. So for example, for sender information, I just have it set up to look at my the Sage company information. Just know Starship does fully support multiple companies as well as locations or warehouses. And with the sender, I do have a lot of customers that, oh yeah, we drop ship, we ship for Walmart or Home Depot. And when we process those shipments, everything has to show that it's coming from, say, Walmart. So even that information can be automated where, I'll just manually select this, but we can simply data map this address ID drop-down field to a Sage field. And that could be a standard Sage field, or we can even map to user-defined or custom fields. But point being is I could have this set up where, okay, Starship's automatically going to know, yep, this is going for Walmart. So it automatically needs to select and change the address information to Walmart. Okay? Really with Starship, name of the game is, of course, to streamline your shipping process. So the less things as a shipper that I have to click, type, touch, of course, the better. Okay. Recipient information, so simply looking at the ship to, Starship will do address validation. We do validate ZIP+4, so going to help save on those address correction fees. And then the transportation, I'll just drill down. And as you can see now, all my transportation information, simply just being mapped from the ship via inside of Sage, is being selected for me. So carrier, service, account information. If anyone is doing third party or collect shipments, Starship could be also set up that it knows, yep, that's a third party account that I'm going to bill it to. And we can even set it up where in this drop down, it automatically populates the customer's third party account info. All right. This is just part of Starship's database where we could set up and store the customer's account information and then the multiple account numbers. Right, so just another way we help streamline that process. And I'll just minimize this. Shipment details, of course, this is just all our shipment options. Again, if any of these were flagged inside of Sage, it would automatically come in and be flagged inside of Starship. So maybe insurance, we have customers that we automatically populate the declared value for them. I could also manually select any of these fields, or here with the Quantum View Notify, or which this would be the email that UPS sends, I have it always defaulted, so Starship always selects it. I'm telling it to bring in an email address, and this is just coming from the sales order. But then I have my system set up where I'm telling Starship only use the carrier-generated email if there was a delay or an exception. And I'll talk about why I do that in a little bit. Packaging, here's our packaging. So this is where we can get into that item to box detail. First off, item to box detail is not required inside of Starship. Of course, we do have to have a weight, but we don't have to have items in boxes. And in this scenario here, I have set up inside Starship a packaging scenario. So Starship knows, hey, every time they ship this blanket, they always put it in a box called blanket. So it's automatically packaged it for me. Now, my remaining items, there are no packaging scenarios, so I just have them coming into a default custom package. From there, if I need a third box, I can simply click this little box icon, or if I wanted to, maybe this was a large order and I need 10 boxes right away. I could use this repeat box function, tell Starship how many boxes I need. I can even copy the original package weight that I selected, click OK, and Starship would just simply add those 10 boxes. Now, from there, if I want to get into item box detail, maybe I know this pillow fits in a blanket box, it's simple drag and drop. Boom, put that in there. Now, these dinner plates, maybe I know those, we always put those in a small box. So this drop down is just part of a Starship's database where you can set up and store your custom, if you want to call it custom, but if you have standard size boxes. So here I know this is small. The nice thing with using custom packaging is that the dimensions will automatically populate right here. Now, if I left that as custom, I could manually type in the dimensions, but Starship does, as Adrian mentioned in the beginning, we do calculate the dim weights based off of the carrier's calculations. So my system, the quantities, those are being pulled from Sage. The weights, I'm actually pulling them from Sage. But of course, if you have a scale that's integrated, we could pull weights from a scale, or I could manually type that in. And then over here is the bill weight field. So that is the dimensional weight field. So here now when Starship is rating this, it's rating it at the correct 19 dimensional weight instead of the 16. And then when this gets processed to UPS, it's also going to go out at the correct dimensional weight. All right, so then that's the item box detail. Really quick down below is the line items. Now, as a shipper, you're probably not going to have to click on this. I just like to show it because Starship also has a database that will start storing your inventory items in Starship's database. The reason we do this, a lot of times inside of Sage, you might not have a field for freight class or NMFC code if this was an LTL shipment, because Starship is multi-carrier, multi-mode. So you are going to be able to process your parcel, your small parcel, international shipments, LTL shipments, right from the one user interface, so right from Starship. In this case, this is an international shipment, so we can also have it store, and as you see now, all my required international data is automatically populating for me. So I don't have to stop and fill out any of this information. Even the Schedule B code, maybe I was missing this. Starship would alert my shipper. I could quickly come in here, and I even set up a little filter for all the Schedule B codes. Maybe now I know all my products always begin with 844. So I have a filter. I can quickly come in here, select it, And of course, any of this information that I add, once I process this shipment, Starship will save for next time, okay? So again, really, we're probably going to bring in the order, maybe do some item box detail, then we can scroll down here, and this is the live rate shopping. So as you see here, I am displaying all my FedEx, USPS, as well as UPS, all the carrier service options. Here's published list rate. Contract rate is my live negotiated rate. So a live rate, there's no staging tables. If tomorrow, say UPS ups a fuel surcharge, when I rate shop tomorrow, I would have access to those new rates. I don't have to download anything or do anything like that. Also, my system, I have, as you see, Starship doing a rate shop scenario. Basically, I'm just telling Starship, hey, this is a parcel shipment, so only show me my parcel services and carriers, because I also have a lot of LTL carriers, and I don't want to have to scroll through those. But now we can even take that a step further, and we can do ship via rules. So we can even tell Starship kind of what a lot of clients do is best way shipping. We could set up rules that tell Starship, okay, I want you to automatically rate shop my shipment, and then I want you to always automatically select the least expensive carrier service, or maybe least amount of delivery days and least expensive. So this whole process can be automated as well. Apply charges, that's just simply plus or minus freight rules. So Starship does fully support freight rules. Here I just have a couple set up, and I have one, it's looking at a user-defined field. So because it's selected, this customer receives a 10% discount. And then I have another one that's a flat rate because it's going and looking at the line item detail, and it's saying, oh, yep, you have those plates, they're fragile. Because they're fragile, we have to use additional packaging material. So let's automatically charge a flat rate, additional flat rate of $3 to help cover that additional packaging material. Right. So again, bring this in, item box detail, maybe do some rate shopping, and when we're ready, we can simply click ship and process. Under the shipment dropdown, we have shortcut keys. We can save shipments. We can also recreate a return label at the same time. But for this package here, I'll just do ship and process. And what Starship would normally do in a live environment right now would be printing out all my shipping documents. For sake of demos, I always PDF everything, so they're going to take a moment to pop up. I also use this as a smart label, and this is just an option, but as you see with a smart label, it would generate a printing label and a packing list together. So this would go to a laser printer. Most certainly, we can send the shipping labels to thermal printer or printers. It's up to you. You know, we can say, hey, go to UPS, goes to this one thermal printer, and FedEx goes to a different one. The Starship's packing list, you have the option that could also go to a thermal printer, or of course, we can send it to a laser printer. Documents can be customized. We allow you to create unlimited templates for each of your documents. And then on those templates, you can assign printing logic. So again, maybe this is for Walmart. Walmart has a special packing slip they want me to use, or maybe they want their logo on the packing list. Simply create a template for Walmart, assign a printing rule that says, you know, Starship only generate this document or documents if the shipment is for Walmart. International shipments here, as you see, Starship can generate commercial invoices. This one I just customized so it's signed and dated, but out of the box, all the above information will print automatically on the document. And then I also have turned on a certificate of origin, a NAFTA form in this case, but same thing, all the information going to populate. And then this one I've just customized so it's signed, dated. Again, one less thing as a shipper I have to worry about is stopping and filling out any of the documents. So again, as a shipper, I'm going to ship and process, receive my documents. Starship's going to take me back to the main screen where I can select my next shipment, go through that process again. Real quick, I'll jump back onto my Sage machine. And again, as Nick was kind of mentioning earlier, what Starship's going to do is automatically, as soon as the shipper clicks ship and process, create the invoice. So here's the invoice for sales order 222. I'm going to click the tracking. Now, as you see, all that tracking information is automatically populated. This is inside of Sage Tables. So of course, CertaPro can grab this and upload it to the website automatically. If I needed to, I could track. I can even see that item to box detail right from Sage. And then the totals, we're going to write back the freight amount. So again, that would be plus or minus any freight rules. Or maybe we already charged the customer for freight on the website. So we can even tell Starship, hey, if it's a web order, do not write back the freight amount. Right? Freight costs from Starship, that's a user-defined field. With Starship, we can also get into doing custom write back. So a lot of customers, what they'll do is actually send back their live negotiated rate into this field. It's a simple user-defined field. That way, before someone updates the invoice, they can look and make sure you're not shorting yourself. So we can even say, oh, yeah, this should have been $75. Right. And then lastly, what I'll do is a couple add-ons, or not even add-ons, they're included with Starship, is the ability to rate quote from sales order entry. So I could click this button. It's automatically going to take my customer service rep to a rating screen. It looks just like the Starship screen. So at time of order, they could actually do live rate shopping. This does not take up any additional Starship user seats or licenses. And then we also include our dashboard program, which same thing. Let's say yes there. With dashboard, anyone can access this. It doesn't require any additional user seats. So here I just have a heat map turned on. We have a whole bunch of overviews, little widgets. But point being, customer service reps or front office can get in here. They can track shipments. They can look at what's being shipped. Here is our e-notify program. So this is why I had my system set up to only use the carrier-generated emails for delays or exceptions, because I'm sending the customer my own custom email with my company logo, not the carrier's. Very easy to create these, pull in Sage fields, give them that item box description, hyperlinked tracking numbers. So nice feature with Starship. All right, and we also real quick have a bunch of canned reports. I can click the right button here. So under Crystal Reports, here as you see, address correction, late delivery, charge comparison reports, so on and so forth. But again, really brief overview of Starship. I really appreciate everyone taking time. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Adrian.
Thank you, Matt, so much for that presentation. Maya, you should have controls now. Thank you. Maya's going to be talking about integrated payments and 8 mistakes to avoid when selecting a payments provider.
All right, guys. So I'm not going to give you the canned credit card pitch. Really what we are is an independent provider of payment solutions. We're differentiated by a couple of things. We support and set up a lot of different providers. We use a lot of different platforms, and we think that having more options is the better option. We've been around for 15 plus years. A lot of us originated at Sage Payment Solutions, and everybody knows that everybody's been through, probably a multitude of different providers, and the kind of the pitfalls and things that go with each of those providers, the pluses. Everybody has really good products as far as Sage 100 goes. We are differentiated by a couple of things. We have a multiple platform model, which means we represent a bunch of different payments providers, all in integrated solutions for payments. We have been doing this again for 15 years. The main thing that is a differentiator is that we are willing to do this for you and your clients, end users on the phone. We are more than willing to help you regardless of if you use us for payments. And, not everybody offers that. We have been involved in over 3,500 Sage 100 payments installs. And basically, our team total, it's probably more like 5,000. But again, we originated at Sage Payment Solutions and decided to move out of that world just because we wanted to offer multiple options. There are a couple of things to avoid in the world of payments. One has to do with contracts. As you know, anything when it comes to legal contracts, there's generally, gray area. There's generally a lot of stuff that people don't read or understand. So we do have our counsel here, Jay. He's spent a lot of years in the merchant services contracts. He is very well versed in those contracts, and he's here to answer questions. There are a few points that I'd like to touch on. And as soon as I switch this, I'll hand it over to Jay. But really, the key thing that I want to get across on this call is letting you guys know, letting your clients know that whether you work with us or not, meaning whether you set up a merchant account through us with whatever provider or not, we are more than willing to help you. We're more than willing to demo stuff. We're more than willing to, do whatever it is that you need us to do in order to avoid these pitfalls and to, even after the fact, help you out. We can help do rate reviews, initiate those. We have rapport with everybody in the industry, and we choose to work with some and not work with some for good reason. Most of them are contractual reasons, meaning that the contracts that are offered are very one-sided, meaning that the provider is taken care of and the client is not. So with that, I'm going to move this to Jay. And so first he will talk about the term, meaning how long the client signs up for when they set up a merchant account. Jay?
Maya, thank you very much. My name is Jay Reeve, and my practice has been focused on the payments industry exclusively for over 20 years now. So I've seen thousands of merchant processing agreements through the years, and merchant processing agreements are a unique contractual animal. They're not like any other contracts out there. And there's a lot of things that you need to look at, a lot of things you need to be aware of. And you have to look at a lot of different pieces of the contract to get the entire picture. And as Maya said, the first one is the term. The example that we have here has what is pretty standard in the industry, which is a 3-year initial term. Very common to have a 3-year initial term. If you see a contract with a 5-year term, that's a little unusual. What's strange about this one is it has a 3-year renewal term, a 3-year automatic renewal term, and you got a 90-day window to hit that. So at the end of 3 years, when you're probably thinking about other things than your contract renewing, if you're not paying attention and you miss that 90-day notice window, then all of a sudden you're bound for another 3 years. That's a problem in and of itself, and then it's a bigger problem when we talk about exclusivity and early termination fees, which we'll get to towards the end of it. But you've always got to focus on the term. Common in the industry is to have a 3-year term, initial term with an annual renewal, 1-year renewal, or a month-to-month renewal. We see a lot of that in the industry, and those are a lot more fair to the merchant and give you the opportunity to process with a little less risk. So. The next section that's on here, Maya, if you want, I'm just go right on through these. Stop me if you want.
Absolutely. Yeah, just one thing, Jay, I wanted to add. Any solution that we use, any platform that we use, we always set up for a month-to-month contract. We want the client, we want the end user to feel like they're not handcuffed, to feel like they have flexibility. So we can move on to the number 5 on the list there.
Good. Merchant operating account, that last sentence is highlighted. Merchant waives any claims for loss or damages arising out of any charges or debits to the operating account. Yeah, it is very unusual in any kind of legitimate contract to have waivers of damages or waiver of claims provisions, and certain processors will have these in merchant processing agreements. This is a real big potential problem because basically if a mistake's made in your operating account, the processor may or may not fix it, but they're not going to be liable for any damages that result because of that mistake. Also, there are reserve clauses in processing agreements. Debits can be made, reserves can be established, and basically you go to try and fight this, then their attorney points to this last sentence and says, sorry guys, you've already waived your rights to this. So be aware of any clauses that have to do with your bank account. Obviously, a merchant processing agreement has to be tied to a bank account, but look for the clauses that that have to do with that operating account, because there can be some pretty substantial risks in some of those clauses. The next section is section 9, the security interest. This is unusual for a merchant processing agreement, and even if it's in there, you have to be aware of it, and you have to realize what this means. And most importantly for merchants, you got to realize that this could potentially, just by having this clause in a merchant agreement, this could put you in violation of any kind of loan documents. You know, if you've got a financial, you know, if you've got financing arrangements with a bank, if you've got shareholder investor reps and warranties and covenants, you know, this one clause, this one security interest clause could cause you to be in violation of those covenants. So you got to really be on the lookout for that. Some of the security interest language even goes even further and basically gives the processor a security interest in every single asset of your company. So you really want to be focused on the word security interest, and if you see that pop up, you got to be careful. You got to look at that very carefully. The next section is indemnification. In this particular agreement, we've got a fairly extensive indemnification provision. Extensive indemnification provisions are not unusual in merchant processing agreements, but the better processors out there offer a somewhat more mutual indemnification provision. This example shows just a unilateral indemnification provision. So be sure to take a look at the indemnification provision anytime you've got a merchant processing agreement in front of you, and make sure that that it is mutual, or that it's not overreaching, as this one appears to be. Looks like we're back. That's indemnification again. The next one is section 28. There it is, termination of agreement by merchant. You know, this, you read the title and you kind of glance at it and you think, okay, well, this means I can terminate the agreement. Well, you know, this is in this particular agreement, this is the only way you can terminate the agreement. And the only way you can terminate the agreement is if there are fees and charges added by the processor. And you give them notice that you've seen these new fees and charges and that you don't agree with them, and that's the only way you can terminate the agreement. Not only is that very restrictive, a lot of times processors will increase fees or charges and not even tell you about it. So you're kind of on your own to realize, first of all, find the change, realize there's a change. And then second, you know, realize that you have the right to terminate the agreement. So you always want to look at the termination provisions and see how you can terminate the agreement. And as Maya pointed out, with those month-to-month contracts like Maya offers, you know, it's really not that big a deal. You can always, you know, you've got your out, so you don't have to worry about that as much. But without those kind of provisions and a very limited termination right, this can put you in a real bind. So you want to be aware of that. And then the last provision is really one of the most important provisions in this agreement and in most merchant processing agreements that you have to look at and be aware of. And that has to do with exclusivity. This one, actually, the way this one is worded, not only does this establish exclusivity, this has early termination fees kind of buried down in the bottom of it. Early termination fees, frankly, the card associations would probably frown on this kind of clause, because early termination fees are supposed to be made plain in the contractual language, and it's not plain in this one. But when you take this clause and tie that back to the term, you know, you got a three-year term with a 3-year auto renewal and an exclusivity provision. These are handcuffs. I mean, you cannot. You're bound to use this processor. Period. If you send transactions to another processor, you're violating the exclusivity, which triggers the early termination fees below. If you try to terminate the agreement and go with somebody else, you violate the exclusivity, and you don't have the right to terminate the agreement, so that'll trigger the early termination fees. And the early termination fee clause basically says that the processor gets paid for what it would have gotten paid during the period of time remaining in the agreement. So let's say you were there for 3 years and you missed the auto renewal window, and you all of a sudden renew for another 3 years. You terminate a month later. The merchant processor may try and hit you for their processing fees for the next 35 months, all in one lump sum. And by the way, when we talked about the merchant operating account and their ability to debit that merchant operating account and establish reserves. That's one of the ways, you don't get to fight this on a level playing field. You try to terminate, you try and go somewhere else, and all of a sudden your last week's worth of settlement didn't show up in your bank account, and there's been a debit to your bank account for X number of dollars in fees. And they'll if they can, if there's money available, they'll debit you for these early termination fees, all that they can. And the money's in their pocket when you try and argue. And it's very true in this instance, more so than any others. The one with the money wins, and the processors know this. A lot of processors know this. And they try and take advantage of that. So you got to really be wary of exclusivity provisions. Look for early termination fees. Make sure they're reasonable if they're present at all, and just try and make sure those provisions are limited if they're in there at all.
So basically in this Section 30 exclusivity, there is what's called liquidated damages, and that's what Jay just went through. So if you ever hear liquidated damages, it's right there, contractual provision. We can send you this slide deck, and I believe Adrienne said that she would. So at the end of the day, just read the fine print, guys. There's a lot of fine print in merchant services. That's what we are here to help with. The fine print, making sure that you guys have support, making sure that the clients have support, making sure that there is just a bunch of the junk weeded out of there. This agreement that we've highlighted here is from a company that you guys have heard of, that well. A lot of these agreements, have this stuff in it. As I said, our agreements are always month to month. We're never going to handcuff the client. We always will ensure that the client has the same rates for as long as they do business with us. The couple of other things that I want to point out. When you work with somebody that is not written on Sage Code for their payments integration, there's one that is and a couple of others that aren't. The uninstall process looks similar to this, meaning that in the short version, that you install it, it seems to be pretty easy, it runs well, the products work good, but if you ever want to leave, the uninstall process is a headache. Essentially, the easiest way to do it is to uninstall the whole library master, meaning that you uninstall everything, including the add-on products, whether it's Starship or, any of the add-on products that you have there, and then you reinstall them in order to avoid issues down the road. So keep that in mind when you're going with third-party solutions that are not written on Sage Code. The only one that's written on Sage Code is Sage Payment Solutions, or Paya. It used to be owned by Sage, therefore plays well, works well, is super easy to install and uninstall. Couple of things: how to negotiate low rates. Really, just give us a call. That's what we're here to do, and we can help with the current provider if you don't want to move, right? So we're here to help you any way that we can. Work with somebody that that knows your industry end to end as far as payments is concerned. When you're talking about equipment, a lot of the clients here are mail order, telephone order, or e-commerce, so you don't have to worry about having a situation where they have a lot of equipment. But if you do have equipment, or they do need equipment, do not ever lease the equipment. It's like leasing a car on a smaller scale. A lot of times, it ties you into a bunch of stuff contractually. It's something that just avoid it, and that's what we're here to help too. Don't ever take free equipment, because if you read the fine print, there is, it generally equals a long-term contract. In Section 30 in there, let me go back real quick because I want to point it out. If you look at the exclusivity clause at the bottom, it says but not limited to discount equipment, right? So keep that in mind. We would be happy to help you with anything contractually. Now, what you also want to remember is the quotes that you get. A lot of times you're seeing grossly overstated savings, and it's mostly level 3 savings. So if you look at this one, they're saying that level 3 savings is $2,107 a month, and 602 of their 693 cards went through at level 3 savings. That is so overstated, it's crazy. And we can get into level 3, we can walk you through it. It's a way to get the door open and to make it look really good, because dollars and cents matter, right? So you see the total monthly savings here. It's a way to get the door open and keep the door open. Do not ever provide your merchant statement up front. It's one of those things that you want their best foot forward, and that's something that we help you with. We do all the quoting for everything that we cover, every platform that we use. We do all the service, we do all the support. We're 100% US based, and the support is the cornerstone of our business. And that's why we offer to take care of you, take care of the client, take care of everybody. Even if you're not setting up merchant accounts with us, we will help you out however we can. You have our direct numbers. You see them right here on the screen, and we will send them to you if you don't already have them. We have a large support staff throughout the country, and we're more than willing to help. We just, we want to do it. We want to, make sure that you guys are on the right track when it comes to payments. And a couple of you on the phone already use us. A couple of the partners on the phone, have worked with us for years. Feel free to call us. It's not going to cost you anything. We're not going to charge you. We just want to make sure that you know what's there. And with that, we appreciate your time. Anything that you need, reach out to Tom or myself directly. We'd be happy to help you. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Maya. I'm going to go ahead and flash up the contact information for the recording and for all the audience out there still with us. We appreciate you sticking with us. Everybody take care and enjoy the weekend, and stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.